So I've been chewing on a couple of different passages for the last couple of weeks, trying to kind of figure out where I'm coming down on this, trying to kind of wrap my head around it, if you will. You remember in the Sermon on the Mount when Jesus gives these instructions. He says, someone strikes you on one cheek, turn to him the other as well. He says, when someone requires you to walk a mile, go with him too. He said, if somebody demands your shirt, give him your coat as well. He says, don't resist an evil person. He said, love your enemies and to pray for those who are persecuting you. I think one of the things that we've misunderstood about these things is that there is a line when it comes to love. Now hear me out, because I know probably right from the get-go here, you're probably going to want to disagree with me, and that's fine. But let me try to explain why I say that. You remember in John chapter 2, where Jesus goes to the temple courts, and there he finds the money changers ripping people off, selling defective animals for sacrifice, cheating people, oppressing people. And John records something interesting that he saw. He said that Jesus fashioned a whip out of cords and drove everybody out of the temple courts, tipped over tables. I mean, that would be quite the scene, wouldn't it? But there's a segment of Christians who would dare to say that Jesus may have made a whip, but he wouldn't hit anybody with it. I guess I have a problem with that, because Jesus has a big problem with people stealing glory from God. Remember that his entire purpose, in addition to releasing us from our chains of sin, his purpose, everything he did, everything he said, everywhere he went, everything he was about bringing glory to his Father. Remember, at one point, the man came to Jesus and says, good teacher, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? And he says, why you call me good? There's only one good. So you've got these people in the temple courts who are stealing, quite literally, glory from God. Jesus gets grumpy with that kind of thing. And so did he hit some of these people? I think, yeah. I think they needed to feel what they were doing was wrong. Now, you disagree with that if you want to. But remember, Jesus isn't this, wuss. If you go back to the Old Testament and watch the stuff the angel of the Lord did, which, by the way, I believe Jesus was the angel of the Lord of the Old Testament, that's for a different lesson. But you go back and look at the things the angel of the Lord did, he was very zealous for the glory of God. I mean, this is the God who drowned the Egyptian army in the Red Sea because they were threatening his people. This is the God who bombed Sodom and Gomorrah because they were godless. And all of a sudden, Jesus in the New Testament is this different kind of God? No, they're the same. The scriptures teach that Jesus was the same today, yesterday, and forever. So let's find some consistency here. To be a Christian is not to be a wuss. I don't have to lay down and pretend that I have no power. Oh, I have a lot of power, and that power is given to me by God. Now, here's the thing. The struggle for that power, though, is not for my own benefit. That's kind of where we get lost here. That power is for me to help benefit others. Remember I said there's a line. Well, they crossed that line in John chapter 2. In fact, at the end of John chapter 2, transitioning into Jesus' conversation with Nicodemus, John records that all these people were putting their belief in Jesus, but Jesus wouldn't commit himself to them because he knew what was in the hearts of men. There's a line there. In 1 Corinthians 13, Paul gives this definition of what love looks like. He's patient and kind and doesn't envy and all that. But there's a curious word a little bit later in that context. He says that love always protects. Now there's one we miss. We get kind and all that, but protects? Protects what? Love protects each other. And it's not for my benefit, it's for yours. You see, God is all about sticking up for the people who cannot stick up for themselves. And he draws a line in the sand when it comes to you abusing someone like that. Remember, Jesus took a child, put him on his lap, and said, if anybody causes a little one like this to stumble, it'd be better to have a millstone hung around his neck and thrown into the sea. Those are some pretty strong words. Israel ends up getting destroyed by the Assyrian army because they forgot that. They thought it was all about them. Judah was taken into captivity by the Babylonian army because they forgot it was all about them. Micah 6:8 talks about what God is expecting. He's expecting me to love mercy, to do justice, to walk humbly. Justice is a big thing. And so as Christians, we are charged, yes, to love each other. But I think we're a little bit confused with what that word means. Loving each other does not involve any kind of emotion like that. Save that for your kids. Love is, I'm going to look out for your best interests, just like I look out for mine. Remember, I love you like I love myself. So I'm going to look out for your best interests. And if your best interests are about to be trampled by somebody else, I'm probably going to stand in the gap for you. And it'll probably require me to do some things that maybe you didn't think Christians were allowed to do. I mean, after all, if we get struck on one cheek, aren't we supposed to turn the other? But the problem is, in the culture Jesus is teaching, that was an insult. That wasn't a physical attack. So where am I going with this? We got all this crap going on in our culture. We've got all these people at each other's throats. And Christians have largely remained silent. We got a lot of people, social media, because I say social media derogatorily as I post this on social media. But you get all this stuff being posted on social media, and most of the noise is being caused by people who, let's just say it, are oppressing other people. Where are the Christians? Where's your voice? When will you stand up and say, yeah, this isn't going to happen on my watch? Oh no, Christians can't say stuff like that. Basically, we have to be pacifists. Well, here's a newsflash. God's not a pacifist. Never has been, never will be. Because there's a line, and that line doesn't get crossed, or you deal with the wrath of God. Yes, God is wrath. I thought God is love. He is. He's also wrath. He's also jealousy. He's also merciful. All of these things, God is wrapped up in one. You see, we have a bad habit of only looking at a small part of one side of a coin. But God's the whole coin. And as God's people, we're required to be that whole coin as well. I'm not relegated to one little aspect of God's personality. I am blessed with the power of all of it. So here's a challenge for you. Stick up for somebody who needs stuck up for. Stand in the gap for somebody who's being oppressed or abused. Be a Christian who protects those around you. Something for you to think about. More later.